Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this video I want to talk about the science of the life force energy. And this is very important. If we can understand there is a real science behind this life force energy, it will help us to feel it. See, really we want to feel this in our body, but we need to understand it. If we can understand it, it's going to go a long way to help us experience it. And in the background here, I've got a video of me fighting with my good friend. But this is a very, very friendly fight. We're literally just practicing a flow of chi. We're practicing a flow of movement. So this is really a body flow or a dance. This is spontaneous movement. So we're not trying to win the fight. We're actually taking it in turns. I do a move, he responds, then he does a move, and I respond. So we're not going to the end of the moves. We're starting a move and seeing if our partner can respond to it. And then they've got to respond and do another one. So it's extremely friendly, extremely careful. But it's more about the body flow. We got to spontaneously react and have a complete freedom of movement in our body, and then try and find the most efficient way of responding. So this is a slow motion fighting. You can also think of this as sistema. Sistema fight like this a lot as well, but it's still not quite the same as sistema. You could think of it as a cross between tai chi, pushing hands, kung fu moves, and sistema, slow motion body flow fighting. So we're doing all these things, but it's all about the chi. We're trying to feel the chi energy, feel the energy in our body, feel our body structure, and move from this. And we even go down to wrestling, and you'll see using the head and the neck. I use all sorts of parts of the body. So it's a very interesting little fight. And even coming down to wrestling here now, but we're not really going properly into wrestling. We're just starting wrestling moves and allowing our partner to respond, to get out of them, and so we keep the flow going. This is all about the flow. And it's more like a game of chess. It's more like playing chess. I make a move, he's got to respond to that move. And it's all slow motion, but in chess you can of course achieve checkmate. So we're trying to win the fight in a very slow motion manner. If you can lock up your partner or move efficiently in this slow motion manner and still get a strike, well, you can certainly get a strike when you go full speed. But this is not full speed, this is not fighting, this is friendly play, friendly chi practice. Now, I'll leave this in the background as I talk about this subject, because it's better than just having me sitting and talking about it. You've got something to watch at the same time. So let me start. We're going to talk about the science of the life force energy. And let's have a look at actual science that we've got now. And the best analogy for this is Tesla and Einstein. Now, everyone knows Einstein, and now Tesla is becoming very, very famous. People talk a lot about Tesla, and especially the New Age community and all these alternative people. They'll talk a lot about Tesla and what Tesla's invented, his alternative science, and they connect him to the pyramids and all sorts of things. But then they also talk about Einstein. So they'll say, well, Tesla's amazing. And then they talk about Einstein, he's amazing. And then they'll talk about quantum mechanics, yeah, that's amazing. And they think that all this is connected and is one and the same thing. And it's all fantastic, amazing what modern science has discovered. Now, the thing is, if you're going to talk about Tesla, then you cannot talk about Einstein or quantum mechanics. See, Tesla's science is totally different. And hardly anyone understands this. I mean, hardly anyone. There's only a handful of people on the planet who really understand Tesla's science. And Tesla's science does not go together with Einstein, nor does it go together with quantum mechanics. So if you're going to talk about Tesla, you're going to have to abandon Einstein. Einstein is wrong. Quantum mechanics is wrong. Tesla's science is completely different. And he did not subscribe to Einstein, nor did he subscribe to quantum mechanics. These are two modern sciences that we've been given. And we've been given a long, great story about quantum mechanics, and everyone is over the moon about quantum mechanics. But quantum mechanics, I mean, let me put this bluntly, and I hope you'll get the feeling of that this is true, what I'm saying, by the end of this talk. But quantum mechanics is utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. And if you understand Tesla's physics, which I hope to get you started on it by the end of this, you'll see it's laughably nonsense. It's fairy tale nonsense. Now, I do have a degree in physics, and I nearly did a PhD in theoretical physics, so I'm qualified to talk about this. And my tutor was a particle physicist, so if I didn't do theoretical physics, I could have done a PhD in particle physics, and I would have been working in CERN and doing all that stuff. But now I'm glad I didn't, because that would have been a total waste of time. Now, let me go back. Let me qualify this. So, when I studied physics, my professor, one of my professors, was one of the top guys in the world in quantum gravity. So, this is the highest level of theoretical physics. And he started his lectures by saying there are these two theories. One is quantum mechanics, and one is general relativity. And these two theories do not mix. They don't work together. They just don't work together. And this is the whole problem. They're trying to unify quantum mechanics and general relativity. And if they could do that, they'll have the grand unified field theory. But they just can't do it. These two theories don't mix. They don't work together. So he said that means either one of these theories has to be wrong, or both of these theories have to be wrong. So this was a mainstream professor at the top of this field who actually openly admitted this. One is wrong or both are wrong. But the thing is, nobody goes back to the drawing board and starts again. They all just keep on going. They keep on adding to these theories, trying to make them work. They're not abandoning them and starting again. And this is interesting. I mean, this means we still assume that science is genuine, and it's a big problem we've got in the world today. We're given a sort of story, and we assume this story is genuine, but it's not. Everything in the world is controlled by large corporations. Now, again, if you don't quite believe this or understand this, this is another discussion I'll have in time. But we can all understand everything in this world is for profit. That we can all agree with. And the scientific institutions, the educational institutions, they've all been bought up a long, long time ago by corporations and families, and we can go into the details of that in time. But that means everything we're told has got some profit interest in it, whether we can see it or not. And that means we cannot trust the science that we're given. We just can't trust it. But the trouble is, none of us are clever enough to come up with any other answers, so we have to accept it. And quantum mechanics and general relativity have been really pushed hard. And the turn of the century, before the Second World War, it was all about the ether. And this was Tesla's science. Now, Tesla's science is about the ether, and the ether is completely dismissed now. So Einstein came in to dismiss the ether. Now, ether is nonsense. And in fact, all the books, there were many books, they were all destroyed, which is very interesting. You should still have the books. Why do you get rid of the books? And ether used to be on the periodic table, and they got rid of that as well. So ether was taken seriously before the Second World War, and after that it was dismissed as mumbo-jumbo nonsense. But what you don't understand, or what we don't understand, is they just gave us even worse mumbo-jumbo nonsense. Quantum mechanics is utter mumbo-jumbo. This is why we talk, look, we go to religion. If we go to religion and we ask them, how does the world work? What is life? They'll say, oh, well, it's God. And, well, yeah, but how does it work? Well, God works in mysterious ways. Well, that's not an answer. We want to understand it. You can't just say, well, there's God and then God works in mysterious ways. That's not an answer. But now you go to science, you go to quantum physicists, you're going to get, what do you say to quantum physics? How does the universe work? What is it all about? They'll say, oh, well, it's quite mysterious, it's quantum physics. Yeah, but how does it work? Well, you wouldn't understand. Quantum physics is so difficult to understand. Even we don't understand it. You might as well just say, might as well just say, oh, well, quantum mechanics works in mysterious ways. You wouldn't understand. That's not an answer. We can understand how the universe works. There's just no one is explaining it to us. So I hope to do that for you on this channel. I hope to explain this. And it's taken me a lifetime to work this out because nobody is there really explaining it. Well, I tell a lie. There are a few, and I'll leave the links below. There's a very good guy who talks about Tesla's science and Einstein. And his name is Ken Wheeler, so he's one of the smartest guys alive to fill in a lot of the gaps for me in Tesla science. But I was aware that Einstein was wrong since the 90s. When I was studying physics, I met a professor who wrote a book about this, and as soon as he writes anything or talks about anything against Einstein, immediately he lost his career, he lost his job. No one would print his book, so he had to print his book himself. But he was a serious professor, well established in the physics world, until he came out with his theories disproving Einstein, and nobody likes that. You see, science now, and in particular quantum, is really a cult. It's a cult of quantum. It's not a science, it's a cult. And a cult is just a set of beliefs that someone made up. They just make a belief up, and we all have to believe it. That's a cult. Any mainstream physicist or scientist and to ask them about ether, they'll, oh, you're talking rubbish. They'll dismiss you instantly. They'll think you're an idiot talking about ether. But the truth of the matter is, if you want to understand the universe and you want to understand the grand unified field theory, you have to talk about ether. And ether is the same as chi. Ether is the same thing as chi, the life force energy. And this requires a long discussion. I'm going to be starting a lecture series on this in greater and greater detail. This is just an introductory video to it. But I'm going to explain this with mathematics and proper logic so you can see this is true from the very beginning. But ether is the ground unified field theory. The science as we know it will never find the ground unified field theory because they've dismissed it from the beginning. Ether is the ground unified field. There is only one field, and this one field is ether, and everything is a manifestation of this one field. And this can be deduced with logic and mathematics. We can deduce this both. And I do know what the ground unified field theory is. There is an answer. And I'm one of the very few people in the world who knows what it is. Now, I did not discover this. This ground unified field theory is discovered by this guy, Ken Wheeler. I'll leave the links below. So he's got credit for that, but he didn't even invent it. It actually comes from Pythagoras. He discovered it in some obscure Pythagorean text. So Pythagoras has got to be credited with discovering the grand unified field theory. But I don't think even Pythagoras realised how important it was. So this guy, Ken Wheeler, is really the guy who deserves credit for this. And he should get the Nobel Prize, but they'll never give him the Nobel Prize. And the grand unified field theory is this. It is 1 over phi to the power negative 3. So there is a formula, 1 over phi to the power negative 3, where phi is the golden ratio, the golden mean. And this 1 over phi to the power negative 3 actually boils down to a number. And you can calculate it, and the number is 4.2 something something something. It's an irrational number, goes on forever. 4.2 something 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 going on. So, but the number is not the important part. It is the mathematical statement, 1 over phi to the power negative 3. And in time I'll explain why this is so. But as you can see, this will need some lectures in mathematics to get this. But for now, I just want you to be aware that there is the answer. The grand unified field theory is out there, and I know what it is, and I've now just told you what it is. You don't understand it yet, but there it is. And what's even more interesting is if you guys know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the old sci-fi comedy book and film and TV show, in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Gallery there was a skit in there where they were saying that everyone has worked out the answer to the universe. So they know the answer to the universe, but they can't remember the question. So the answer to the universe was 42. It was the number 42, but they forgot what the question was. Now, very interesting, what I just told you, grand unified field theory boils down to the number 4.2, something, something, something. So very close to 42, but it's not quite 42, it's 4.2, something, 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 going on forever, irrational number. So that's just an interesting aside, but a fascinating coincidence. So let's start from the beginning. Now, there's only ever been two postulations onto the nature of the universe. One of them is fields, the ether, and the other one is atoms, atomism. So they are particles. So there's only ever been these two theories. The universe is made of energy and fields, or the universe is made of particles, atoms. And these boil down to two basic philosophical stances. You have monism and you have dualism. Monism is the fields. In other words, the universe is made up of one thing. There's only one thing in the universe. One substance in the universe. That's monism. And then you have dualism. Dualism says, well, there are two substances in the universe, two mutually exclusive substances. So you have particles, matter, and then it means you're going to have something else. You're going to have consciousness or spirit or energy or some other thing that animates this matter. So there's two things in the universe. Now, the problem is, modern science we've got now is atomism. It still just boils down to old-fashioned Greek atomism, this materialism or this dualism. And dualism is doomed to failure from the very beginning. Because if you're going to say, well, there are two substances in the universe, well, now you've got to say, well, what are they? Well, you've got matter, and then you've got spirit. Well, what is matter? And modern science has not defined any of these things. None of these things are clearly defined. They don't say what matter is. Well, matter is a substance. It has magnitudes and it takes up space. Yeah, but what is a substance? Yeah, but it's matter. Yeah, but what is matter? Well, matter is any substance. Yeah, you're not telling me what it is. You're just changing what you call it. In other words, modern science is based on assumptions. They've seen this thing called matter. They don't know what it is, so we'll call it matter. And we'll break it down into little pieces of matter that we're going to call atoms. But we don't know what they are either. They're still matter. We just call it matter, and then we build a whole lot of mathematics based upon this assumption. See, mathematics is infallible, but you have to start with an assumption, and that assumption is fallible. So dualism is doomed to failure because you've got to say they're two substances, and now you've got to say what they are. And if you do manage to say what they are, which they haven't, then you've got to say, well, how do they interact? So let's just say we've got a clear understanding of what matter is. We don't. And we have a clear understanding of what spirit is. We don't. Then we've got to say, well, how do they interact? Because these are two mutually exclusive substances. How do they interact with each other? A whole other problem. You can't say how they interact because they're mutually exclusive. So already, before we got anywhere, dualism is doomed to failure. That only leaves monism. So monism means the universe is comprised of one single substance. Everything is made of this one substance. So already that's a bit easier. Okay, we can start with that. But now we've got to say what that substance is. What is it? Well, that substance is ether. This is the underlying universal field where all things emerge from. And we're going to talk a lot more about this. I will prove this to you from the very beginning with logic. But for now, at least we can see that this theory of the universe is far more unified. It's holistic. We're all part and parcel of this one energy field, this one ether. We're all part of this. And this ether, you could also call it chi. This relates to Taoist philosophy. Very, very similar to Taoist philosophy. And Tesla, so this was the Tesla's universe. Tesla lived in a different universe to Einstein. We all live in Einstein's universe. Einstein's universe is fragmented. It's materialistic. We've actually been separated from our body. Our mind and body have been separated with this idea of a materialistic universe. That's very deep, very, very interesting, but this is one of the biggest problems we've got in society is we're not integrated with our body, we're not integrated with our energy, and this is partly because we're taught from day one a materialistic viewpoint of the universe. And we might think, well, look at everything we've built. We've got CERN, we've got all these particles, we've got satellites, we've got all this quantum theory and all these quantum computers coming. It must be true. Well, no, it's still not true. You see, everything we've got now is engineering. It's all just engineering. You see, you don't have to understand what electricity is to be an electrical engineer. You don't have to understand the nature of the universe to be a physicist. It's just engineering. Let's look at Newton's laws. So Newton's laws of mechanics, they're all true, they all work. But we now know that when you go very, very small, Newton's laws don't work anymore. So Newton's laws, we took them as laws, but they're not laws. They don't universally apply. But the mathematics of Newton's laws is perfect. Yeah, that's right. You make an assumption. Newton made an assumption. Then he built his mathematics, and that's perfect, and it works to a degree. But it doesn't work when you go very small. It all changes. So you can see the mathematics is correct, but the assumption is incorrect. And it's the same with quantum mechanics. It works to a certain degree because they've got some results, but it doesn't go the full distance. And our technology is severely limited because we haven't got this unified field theory. If we took the universe from this unified field theory, we'd have very different technology. And Tesla's technology was very different, very, very different. We don't even understand it now. Now, field theory, mathematics, is very difficult as well. Now, Tesla and some of these other field theory experts, there was 5 or 6 of them, very, very clever guys, a guy called Steinmetz. And one of his equations was 36 pages long, one equation. This is how clever these guys were. So field theory mathematics is very difficult. And if you think quantum mechanics mathematics is difficult, field theory is far harder. So nobody really wants to do field theory. But field theory is the unified mathematics that we need. Everything in the universe can be explained with this field theory. Everything. And I mean including the mind, body, spirit. Because this ether is the chi energy. And the chi energy is the science of the ether done from the Taoist perspective. The Taoist philosophy is ever so similar to Tesla's science. Ever so similar. But Tesla, of course, has got the mathematics and the engineering side to it as well. He's actually used this science to invent things. And the world we live in now is really thanks to Tesla. All the electricity we get is Tesla's invention. And he got that invention from a totally different universe to Einstein. You know, there's nothing much really in the world we got now from Einstein. You might think there is, but not really. It's still all Tesla. And Einstein's theories, all these things that he so-called discovered, can be explained with field theory. I'll have to go through them each one in time. But time dilation is one of the main ones for Einstein. Well, time dilation is still something called electromagnetic retardation. Everything can be explained in the field theory, but it's just been ignored. Put it that way, simple as that. And let's just go back and reiterate. So quantum mechanics is nonsense. And it's in fact a nonsense term. Quantum mechanics means nothing. Quantum is just a unit of measurement, something very small. It's just like saying millimetre or second or hour. It doesn't mean anything. And then mechanics, well, when you go very small, there is no mechanics. There's no mechanics happening very small. So quantum mechanics is a completely meaningless term. And it's the same with relativity. Well, we know things are relative. There's subjectivity. We're all subjective. Everyone's experience of chi is subjective. We know that. So everything is relative, but that's still a meaningless thing to say. Like I said, if you want to map time, again, let me give you another couple of spoilers. Because of Einstein, we're thinking about time travel and wormholes and all this. I'm sorry to say the answer is no. No, because there is no such thing as time and there is no such thing as space. This is one of the big arguments between Tesla and Einstein. You see, Einstein was once asked, what's it like to be the smartest man alive? He said, I don't know, you better go and ask Tesla. So Einstein thought that Tesla was the smartest man alive. Tesla, on the other hand, thought that Einstein was a fuzzy-haired crackpot. He thought this guy was crazy, and he kept writing to him to tell him to stop with your nonsense, stop this nonsense. And it really upset Tesla a lot. This really bugged him. And he wrote a whole lot about it, and he wrote things like, he started to realise people can think very, very deeply. People can be very, very clever, but have no grip on reality. They're still mad as a hatter. And this is what he thought Einstein was. He's doing very, very clever stuff, but there is no connection to reality in what he's doing. So it's extremely clever nonsense, and that's what we got. That's the science we've been given. It's a bit of a psyops. We're all distracted by this, and what's happening is this is taking us away from the chi. It's taking us away from the energy. It's taking us away from ourselves, our own body, our own energy, and our own connection to the universe. You see, Tesla was very, very spiritual, a very interesting guy. I take that guy as a shaman, because he would sit in his room doing his experiments with a huge thing, a capacitor, I can't remember what you call it now, but lightning coming out of it, ionizing the air, so he's sitting in there, and he would have experiences with the electricity. He believed there were beings in the electricity, and he would talk to them. There were beings in the electricity that he would talk to. So people, of course, thought he's mad as a hatter. This was one of the downfalls of Tesla when he started talking like this. But to me, this tells you he was talking about a grand unified field. And that grand unified field included the spirit, included consciousness. And you cannot separate the two. So he will see beings in electricity, because we ourselves are beings of electricity. Our body runs on electricity. We are beings of electricity. But more than that, electricity is still not quite the ether. It's still a bit more than just electricity. Or you can think of electricity as the first manifestation of the ether. Or the ether manifests itself as the dielectric field. That's the best way of saying it. The dielectric field is magnetism. You have dielectricity and magnetism, and these two things appear from the ether, and everything is manifest from these two things. And in the Tao, you can look at this, the Yin and the Yang. The Yin and the Yang are electricity and magnetism. Electricity and magnetism creates everything in the universe, and the Yin and the Yang mix together to create life. And that's what life is. Life is a controlled, a guided control of the field, and the field is electromagnetic. But the best word for it is the dielectric field. And again, I'll talk more about this in longer lectures. But just to go back to space and time, we've got this idea that we think we're living in a flow of time, and there's this sort of background space. And then Einstein thinks, well, maybe we can bend it. We have to bend this space and time. Now, the thing is, there's no such thing as space, so you can't bend it. The best way of thinking about this is space is like a shadow. There's a shadow. You can't do anything to a shadow. You can't bend a shadow. The shadow is not a thing in itself. If you want to bend a shadow, you have to move the thing, and that will affect the shadow. But you can't directly do anything to the shadow. So space, you can think of space as the shadow of the field. So you can only do things in the field. You can't do anything with the shadow. So you can't bend space. There's no bending space. That's a completely false assumption. And the same with time. There is no such thing as time. There's no background time. Time is simply a measure of change. So when changes happen, you measure that with time. If no change happens, no time passes. So if you want to go back in time, you have to undo all the changes that have happened. And you can't undo the changes that have happened. So you can't go back in time. Sorry. The same in the future. If you want to go into the future, you have to accelerate all the changes that will happen. And you can't do that. There is only the present moment. Only the present moment is reality. There is no past and there is no future. So how can you travel to it? There is no past. You can't go back there because there isn't one. There is no future. You can't go there. There isn't one. There is only the present moment. And that present moment is in itself relative. We all live in our own relative present moment. So that's where relativity comes in. But you can slow down time, but you can't speed it up and you can't travel back in it. See, time, again, is a measure of change. You can slow down the changes that happen, and therefore you're slowing down time. So that's the only thing we can do with time. And space is not a thing, so we can't bend space. We can't travel through space because there isn't a thing to travel through. All we can do is affect the field. Remember, I'm trying to describe a very simple, unified theory of the universe, and we should all be able to understand it. See, Mother Nature is beautifully simple. It's elegant. There is no duality in nature. There is no conflict. There are no paradoxes. The entire universe is simply an interaction of this one field. I'll give you another example. Tesla would say that light is nothing more than a sound wave in the ether. So quantum physics, I was saying, they think light is a particle, light is a wave. Well, you can't say it's a wave because then you've got to say what it's a wave in. Oh, we're not saying that. Well, it's got to be a wave in the ether. Well, they can't say that. And if it's a particle, you've got to say what it is. Well, they got out of that one by saying, oh, but it's got no mass. Yeah, but if it's got no mass, it's not a particle. You've just redefined the term particle. You've just changed words. You're just talking nonsense now. Light is neither of these things. Light is simply a perturbation of the ether, or a vibration in the ether. A vibration in the ether where the ether is manifesting itself creates a vibration in the field, and that vibration is light. Or it is a dielectric field. The dielectric field is electromagnetism, and everything is electromagnetism. Everything comes from electromagnetism. And again, gravity. We talk about gravity. Einstein going all about gravity. Gravity is nonsense. Listen, we haven't defined what matter is. What is matter? I don't know. All right, well, now we're talking matter is energy. Well, if matter is energy, well, then there is no matter. There's only energy. So if there's no matter, what is gravity? Gravity is a force that acts upon matter. Well, there is no matter. Oh, yes, thank you. So there is no gravity. So everything is only electromagnetism, and gravity can be described through this ground unified field theory quite easily. And again, if you want a shortcut, you can go and listen to this guy, Ken Wheeler. He explains it very well. But I'll explain this in my own way in coming lectures. But put very simply, gravity, you can think of gravity as incoherent magnetism. When you've got a magnet, two magnets attract to each other, and that behaves like gravity. But this is coherent gravity, coherent force. When you have incoherent magnetism, then it appears like gravity. Again, it requires a bit of explanation. But all I would like to understand that field theory explains everything, and it explains it simpler, and it explains it better, and it will open the doorway to new technology. We're looking at UFOs now. All these UFOs are flying around. They're flying around, if they are, they're flying around with Tesla's technology, not Einstein's. And we think we've got the atomic bomb. We think, oh, Einstein's atomic bomb is so powerful. Yeah, okay, I will have to talk about that in time. But Tesla's science is far more powerful. Tesla invented the death ray. He called it the death ray. Again, it's from the field theory. And the death ray is far more powerful than any atomic bomb. It's more like Star Wars, the Death Star. that sort of thing. And he was talking about creating things with this death ray as well, literally creating matter. And again, but he had a different idea what matter was. So remember, there is no such thing as matter, but I'm not denying the existence of atoms. There is a thing called a particle, but there is only one. Again, it requires another discussion, but there is only one particle, and I will qualify this in time. But you know this in the atomics. All atoms are simply just compounds of hydrogen. Every single substance is a compound of hydrogen. So there's only really one substance, which is hydrogen. And hydrogen is really only a proton and a neutron. And well, an electron is not what they say either. You see, again, Tesla did not agree with the electron. He did not agree with quantum physics or Einstein. To him, these were utter nonsense. And we need to study Tesla's science, and I'll talk more and more about this in time. But the science of chi is the science of ether, and this is the real grand unified field theory. The whole universe is simply a let's put it another way. That we are taught that the universe is digital. Quantum mechanics has created a digital universe. Everything is digital. A little particle is on and off. There's a particle exists and then it doesn't exist. It's another problem they don't answer. So it's digital. But really the universe is analog. It's not digital. It's infinite variations. It's analog. We live in an analog fluid universe of ether. Grand unified field theory. A unified life force, chi, and we're all part and parcel of this one field. So I hope this gave you something to think about. Please leave me any comments or questions below, and I will be doing more lectures about this step by step from the very beginning. So please do like and subscribe and bear with me. This will become clearer over time. Thank you very much for watching, and please do check out one of these other videos here.